Hello, and thanks for joining us for Bring Your Own Device webinar. The goal of this webinar is to give you an update on where we stand today in 2013, looking at what you do with the whole concept of BYOD. So what I want to do is just spend a quick 5 minutes on an ARHD update. We've spent a lot of time in 2013 and even prior to that really looking at cloud and the proliferation of those technologies and how to support them and strategically use them. A lot of things have changed in the past 2 years, really, and the strategy on how to implement IT goes along with that. We promoted internally for our help desk operations management position back in February of 2013. We brought on a COO in April of 2013. His job has really been a change agent to come in with a fresh pair of eyes and look at how we deliver services within our operation and really affect change and do things differently and continue to improve what we do every day for our customers. Our 24/7, 365 demand has grown, and it allowed us to, as taken a look as part of our overall plan of change for the help desk structure. We extended team coverage. Your primary resources are now available until 11 p.m. That started in September of 2013, and we're very excited about extending that coverage, giving you an extra 3 hours of primary team members on the desk to be able to provide you support and your end user support when they go home and have questions, because it's not a 9-to-5 world anymore. We also extended our primary help desk team, your team members, to work on the weekend. So when you call on Saturday and Sunday, you have the ability to speak to one of the folks that you're used to working with Monday through Friday when you're in the office. So you get more consistent support. This was part of the change that went into effect in September. In addition, we created some dedicated roles focused on knowledge base, quality control, as well as account management, really focused on the weekly meetings, having consistent resource run our weekly meetings so they're all performed in the same manner with the proper prep, proper follow-up, so that our help desk folks can focus on providing you support and not have to balance meetings and support in addition to their other duties. That also started around the September timeframe. And we developed best practices, the ARHD way as we call it, back in 2012. And since that time, in 2013, we really focused on implementing those across a lot of our customers. We're going to be expanding that focus in 2014 with additional resources and some new process in terms of how we manage your technology. Our 5-year trend, taking a look at 2009 to 2013, the number of clients that we've grown, the number of employees that have grown, the additional management personnel we put in place to be able to run the operation with the number of employees that we now have at 57 is 11 people. And our revenue growth, you see in 2011 and 2012, they were pretty busy years for us in terms of adding customers and managing the operation. And in 2013, we made a conscious decision to really slow down, make sure that we can onboard clients as seamlessly as possible, as effectively as possible, without impacting our other existing customers. And it's been a fun year. We've been able to do a lot of the initiatives that I just talked about to be able to improve our service as we've really focused on the right growth and servicing our existing customers. So other major initiatives that we've done, the replatform of the VYOD portal back in February and into March, was a big initiative for us. We used the same system since 2006. We didn't have to change systems, we just had to enhance ours, giving us more flexibility for customization for those who need it going forward. This was probably a 9-month project, 6 digits, very important to us, that kind of culminated earlier this year. We've really focused on systematizing your IT operations. We do that through the planning calendar. And for many of our customers, that was introduced this year, and it will be expanded to all of our customers going into 2014. The Client Radar has been an important tool for us. It was introduced actually back in 2012, heavily used all through 2013, allowing us to create better awareness around concerns or project awareness for our customers, so we know more about what's going on when it's important to know. We have other services that we started, Resolve IT, more strategic application workflow for your organization. Monitor IT, expanded monitoring for more complex infrastructures, and the best practices that I've already mentioned. And the help desk structure. So the rotating shifts was another thing that we added to get, that's how we got people on the weekends. Expanding the structure, really keeping the team concept in place was important to us. And, it was a big shift for our employees, and, everybody's bought in, sees the difference, the concept being putting the right people in the right place at the right time. And it's the 2.5 months it's been in place, it's definitely shown a big improvement in a lot of our KPI metrics. So what we consider is our differentiators. We like to take a business approach to becoming part of your IT department. We want to be your partner, not a vendor. We are 24/7, 365 manned. So no matter what day it is, we're open on Christmas, we're open on Thanksgiving. If you need help, we're here for you. We have an intentional culture. Rich and I set about making sure that we provide a good place to work with an intentional approach to everything that we do every day. We've won multiple Best Places to Work awards from different environments, the Baltimore Sun, Baltimore Magazine. We've developed internally a remediation process. Things go wrong in IT. The most important thing is how you handle them. And we've really focused on what are the consistent things that we have to do when something goes wrong, so that we can make sure that the situation is rectified and you as a customer are taken care of. We are the 71st largest MSP in the U.S., rated by MSP Mentor, a very large MSP-focused website that also ranks us 91st globally. We've grown a lot in the past few years, and really evolved our operation to meet those needs. We also developed a dedicated client implementation team. This was something we introduced back in 2012, and we've really refined heading through 2013. We have a client implementation project manager solely focused on onboarding clients. It's been very helpful for us as we bring new clients into the fold. We've also been ranked a Future 50 7 times from Smart CEO magazine, and what that is a measurement of 3-year growth. So we continue to execute well, grow the business smartly, and we've been recognized for that. So what I wanted to talk about today was BYOD. Device freedom is a reality. You have some aspect of BYOD in your environment, whether you know it or not, most likely. So what is it? It stands for Bring Your Own Device, the concept of people bringing whatever they want to the table. Users have taken control. The users voted BlackBerry out of the environment in most situations, and we've had to kind of adjust to that. They want choice, personalization, and they want mobility. And ubiquitous computing is here. No matter what the endpoint, you can typically use it to access corporate data resources. iPhones, Androids, different tablets, Macintosh computers, um, PCs. So, there's all kinds of different ways you can access your organizational data nowadays. And BYOD means you need MDM. What is MDM? MDM is mobile device management. Um, the tools that assist with managing security, compliance, and devices. Um, you need to make sure that you have control over the devices that are connecting to your network. So why is it important? The past couple of years have led to natural infiltration of user-controlled devices. In some cases, it's been, sort of, let's try it, see what happens. In most cases, because it was so easy. Somebody wants an iPhone, it's easy to deploy email to it, a lot less complex than the way BlackBerry enterprise servers would work, for sure. And anyone can connect to your corporate network or email with a few configuration changes. Do you really know how many people have email from your organization set up on their devices? Users have multiple devices. You see the graphic in the bottom right corner. You've got a picture of a smartphone, a tablet, and a laptop. In some cases, they may have a desktop. Some combination. Usually people have 3 devices nowadays, depending on how they operate, and all of those are connecting to your network. You have little to no insight into your current handheld use. If you don't have a mobile device management solution in place, you really don't know, without digging in and doing a lot of detailed analysis, who is connecting to your environment. In some cases, the tools that you have may not be good enough to even tell you. These devices can and will get lost or fall into the wrong hands. They have. Our customers definitely have users that have lost their devices, and what happens to them? If they aren't protected properly, somebody can pick them up and get all kinds of information off of them. It's important that you protect your organization from data loss or inappropriate access. So, some statistics: 67% of people use personal devices at work regardless of the official BYOD policy. 77% of employees haven't received any education about the risks related to BYOD and what can happen to their devices if they get lost, things like that. 78% of employees believe that having a single mobile device helps balance employees' work and personal lives. Nobody wants 2 devices. They want 1 device, which means they want their device, not yours. 24% of consumers surveyed currently use a smartphone or a tablet as their primary work-related device. That's a big number for a primary device. 81% of Americans use their personal mobile device for work. So that's a lot of people out there that are accessing organizational data, and a lot of it probably isn't controlled. 46% of Americans allow other people to borrow their device. So, if they give it to their brother or friend to use temporarily, who knows what that person can do accidentally or intentionally with the organizational data that's on there. 35% of Americans store work email passwords on their phone. This is pretty scary. If that device falls into the wrong hands, it's got the keys to your kingdom as it relates to their security access into your network. 37% of Americans don't auto-lock their phone. So that means if they drop their phone, it doesn't lock. It's available for anybody to pick it up and start using it. There are 1 billion current smartphone users across the globe. Smartphone users increase 42% per year globally. These are big numbers. 1.2 billion in projected smartphones and tablets in sales in 2013. It's not going away. It's only going to get bigger and bigger, and the need for control over it's only going to get more important. Employee productivity increases 45% when using mobile apps. Depending on your organization and the types of apps you use, that number could be greater or smaller. But a lot of companies use Salesforce.com. You've got Salesforce app out there. There's a whole lot of different apps that empower users that when they're not sitting in front of their computer, they can continue to work. So there's definitely an aspect that when you have your mobile phone and you can access things, not just your email, it's a lot easier for you on a whim to whip it out and start using it versus going and grabbing your laptop and opening it up and getting it on. And it's just much quicker, much easier. So that productivity goes up by using that phone. 10 billion personal mobile devices are expected to be in use by 2020. 67% of consumers don't have a password on their devices. So not only may they not have auto lock set, but even more people don't have a password. So even if it did auto lock, somebody could pick it up, swipe it, and it would open right up for them, and they'd have access to whatever's on that device. 80% of BYOD activity today is going unmanaged. And that's primarily because these devices have crept into our environments over the years as users have created demand, and the ease has been so simple to introduce them. It's very easy to throw mail on any device. So where we are today is we have to figure out how much we want to control these devices so we know what's going on with them when they access our data. So what can you do? Tools exist to allow management of end user selected devices. You can leverage these tools to allow proper management and security. And with the right tools, you can provide asset management reporting, manage device security parameters, disable device functionality, configure applications such as mail settings, and GPS tracking if you have a remote workforce and you want to know where folks are, or if you need to find the phone because something happened to it. This is available if anybody's familiar with the Find My iPhone app, with the iCloud solution. You can easily do that. But that's for an individual user. At an organizational level, that information or that ability is even more important, especially if somebody loses their phone. So user perception as it relates to BYOD and controlling devices. Well, if it's a company device, it's not really any different than what you're doing today with laptops and other IT equipment that you provide. It's much easier to enforce policy. You say it's yours. This is what you can do with it, versus it's the employees and what can you do with it. So in a true BYOD environment, you may encounter some resistance because nobody wants two devices, but they also don't want Big Brother taking an eye on their device and figuring out what else they have on their system, on their personal device, personal pictures, text messages, whatever the case may be. So in order to do BYOD, you have to think about making it worth it for the user to be okay with the concept through incentives or the way you compensate for the device plan. You can get creative. There's benefits for both parties. It's really about using policy management to outline what it means on how you're protecting your data, and also educating them on what you really can and can't do on that phone to make them more comfortable. Maybe they don't want you to see their text messages because they're private. Well, you have the ability with some tools to be able to journal those text messages for compliance purposes, but you may also want to not use that ability and make sure that that's in the policy that you won't do that to make them more comfortable with it. If they're not interested, you can always provide them a company phone. They can carry two devices. It's entirely up to them, but at least you're offering the option if that's something you want to do. So considerations, everyone needs MDM, but who in your organization really needs the flexibility for BYOD? So you can provide all company phones. You should have a mobile device management solution for those phones or tablets. But maybe there's only certain tiers of employee types that you want to provide the ability for them to actually use their own phone in the environment. Those are the types of considerations. Standardize where it makes sense. You may be okay with a BYOD solution if you use an iPhone or a certain flavor of Android device. The more standard you make it, the easier it is to support. You got to develop policy, and policy development is going to change. You can put a policy together, you roll it out to some pilot users, you use it for a year, you may find out a lot of stuff is different than you thought, and you have to change that policy, really refine it as you go. So policy elements for consideration, the first thing is, who do you want to own the device? Do you want to do full BYOD? They can own it. Do you want to just provide company devices? Do you want to allow them to bring their own devices? What websites and applications do you want to restrict them to? Do you want to stop them from downloading games and other applications? These are all policies that you can set with the right tool. Can employees use the device for personal use? If so, how and when? Obviously, if it's their device, certainly they can, but if it's yours, you can limit that. If it's lost or stolen, who pays for the replacement? Had many customers have certain users in their organization that regularly seem to lose devices. At some point, they should pay for that. In certain scenarios, the organization can do it. Sort of, the first time you lose it, it's okay. Second time you lose it, maybe they pay for it. What data and information may the employee have on the device? Can employees legally work after hours? There are some situations out there where organizations have been brought liable for providing the ability to work after hours, and the employee saying that's not part of my status and being sued for it. So you want to make sure that you think about the legal ramifications of what BYOD and providing device accessibility really means. This one's important. Strict rules around employees using the device while driving or operating machinery, or even just after hours. Texting while driving is a big campaign out there. A lot of people are, doing the wrong thing in the car and getting into accidents, paying too much attention to their device. You want to make sure that as an organization, you protect yourself with a policy that says you can't do that. It's really important that you protect the organization. Strict rules specifying that employees may not jailbreak or root a device. In case you don't know what that is, it's typically related to the iPhone. It's a fairly closed operating system on the iPhone, and once the new iPhone comes out, somebody figures out how to quote-unquote jailbreak it, which opens it up to be able to do different functionality that in the closed operating system they would never allow. This can open the device up to more threats, more support issues. So you really want to limit the ability for people who are using the device for work to not do that. It can also raise security issues. Strict rules detailing what employees must do if the phone is lost or stolen or otherwise compromised. Something happens to it over the weekend, what are they supposed to do? Well, they need to contact IT so the phone can ideally be wiped or located. It's really important that the device is reported immediately if there's a problem with it. And if you don't have policy to define that, you may not find out that somebody lost something for 3 days. And then in order to have teeth, think about, what are the penalties? How far are you willing to go to enforce the policy to protect your organization's data. So the cost of BYOD, interesting stat, cost of the device itself is only 10% of the management and support costs. You've got the data plan, the minutes for the phone, the support of that phone, the tools to manage that phone. A lot of things go into the cost of the solution. Don't expect immediate savings on your BYOD plan. It's going to take a little bit of time to refine it, to realize it, because you got tools you got to put in place that you don't necessarily have in place today. You've got policy to develop, project to implement all these things. So initially, you're not going to save money, but in the long run, it's very possible, not for everybody, but it's very possible that providing the ability to do BYOD will make people happier, kind of not quantifiable, right? But you may also be able to lower your support costs long term. Managing personal devices does introduce complexity. Most of us are already allowing some users to access organizational data already from a personal phone. We're not really locking it down, so we're kind of doing this in some manner. And it's really important that at a minimum, you secure what you're already doing. Telephone data plans can actually become more expensive because volume discounts on your corporate plans can't be leveraged. If you allow people to do their own BYOD and they write off the whole thing, they're paying more for minutes than you probably do in your pool of minutes for your organization. So it could actually drive up some costs. And really depending on your plan or your policy, it may be less expensive to provide a subsidy, which could reduce corporate costs for telephone data services. You may say, hey, look, we're going to let you use your own device. We're going to give you, we were paying for it. That costs us $90 a month. But we're going to let you use your own device as benefit to you. We're going to give you $75 or $50 for that device every month that you can expense. You'd have to look at the specifics for your organization cost-wise, but there are opportunities to go to a subsidized plan with a BYOD policy and really reduce your costs. One of the ironic things that I think about BYOD and mobile device management is that it's actually chasing the concepts that BlackBerry Enterprise Server has built and refined and perfected in a lot of ways since their inception. One of the best things about the BlackBerry server environment was the policy management. Very robust policies. You can do all kinds of strict rules and guidelines and tracking for auditing purposes, all built into the BlackBerry Enterprise Server, been around for years. And now everybody's out there racing to grab the market that BlackBerry vacated because they didn't execute their handheld strategy very well. So here's some information about real-world capabilities of BYOD mobile device management tools. What I've done here, they're not BlackBerry servers. This is really focused on being able to provide mobile device management for iPhones, Androids, tablets. And what we did was we took a look at, what can you do out of the box with your in-house Exchange server or Office 365. That's typically what our customers are using. And we also looked at the options that were out there. Been keeping a close eye on this for about 18 months, seeing who evolves, who kind of emerges as a market leader. It really came out the AirWatch tool is a very strong product. And what I want to do is just give you an example, sort of what you can do for free versus what you can do with an added tool. So activation enrollment, pretty straightforward. Locking, clearing password. If somebody loses their device, you can send a lock command to it. You can clear the passcode if they forget what it is. You can do that in both. You do a full wipe. Somebody loses their device, you can issue a wipe command. That phone's still online or that tablet's still online. It'll take a full wipe, come up clean with nothing on it. Backup contacts. some cases, you may have contacts just on your phone that aren't necessarily on your Exchange server or other email server, and you have a way to back those up with both the tools. Finding out what's going on with the device status. Is it online? Is it connected to the wireless, the Wi-Fi? Does it have 3G, LTE status? All kinds of good, interesting information. Where's it at? GPS services built into all phones now. You can disable them for different applications and whatnot, but for the most part, out of the box, you're going to be able to do location services, and you can control whether you can do location services through policy. Tracking messages for auditing purposes. If you're under any kind of SEC guidelines, you may have to store all of your text messages. Password policy, being able to set the complexity requirements for a password so you can make sure that your users actually have an auto lock feature, that they actually have a complex password on their phone. Encryption, being able to secure that data that's being transmitted back and forth. You can turn off the camera in certain situations. There's sensitive areas that somebody may go into. You don't want them to be able to take a picture. You may just not want them to take pictures at all. Email and Exchange Active Sync. There's also a tool provided by AirWatch that is a third-party application to access email, which is more controllable when it comes to how tight you want to do policy for that. Being able to synchronize calendars. Being able to do push notification. This is something that I really miss from the BlackBerry days of being able to go to one console and send a message to all the users that have mobile devices connected to that BlackBerry server, and being able to say, hey, there's something wrong with IT, or giving them some sort of an update, just a kind of an APB. And with Exchange, you can't do that, but with AirWatch, you can reintroduce the idea of being able to do that with these newer devices, which is really helpful when you're communicating IT status. Compromise detection. Has this phone been compromised? Has this tablet been compromised? There's detection built into AirWatch to let you do that. Enterprise Data Wipe is another, what I think is an important feature or differentiator that AirWatch offers. With the Exchange or Office 365 solution, the only way you can wipe their phone is completely. So that means they lose all their personal pictures, all their text messages, their phone logs, all their apps. With the AirWatch tool, an added benefit is you can specify specifically what will be deleted. So when you talk about getting people interested in the BYOD policy and why it's okay for you to have this app on there, you can explain to them, if there's an issue where you lose your phone or your tablet, we're going to delete these things from it. We're not going to delete your personal information unless you think we should, because you can no longer find your phone. Wi-Fi, configuring Wi-Fi parameters for your different office locations so they don't have to wait till they get there and then look for the Wi-Fi network and plug in the password that they can't remember. Application management, you can push applications. You have a core set of applications that your organization uses. You can set up a group and push those apps automatically to that phone so the user doesn't have to go deploy them manually themselves through the App Store. One of my favorite features is this concept of geofencing. So I mentioned earlier the ability to disable a camera. Well, in secure areas, you may want to disable the camera in a certain geographical location. That's what geofencing is. It allows you to limit functionality of the phone while you're in a geographic location. So you walk into a particular sensitive data room, your camera becomes disabled. If you walk into a particular building, you may be able to have access to certain information, but that information, when you leave the building, is removed from your phone or your device. Very interesting. Configuring network settings, tracking data usage, calls, seeing calls in, calls out, what the current cellular status is, being able to remotely reboot the device without having to interact with the user, being able to remotely view what's on the screen of the device, and the file manager. The biggest component that I feel is different is a big differentiator between the built-in stuff you can do with your current mail server environment versus what you can do with an add-on tool is reporting. Without an extra tool that can show you reports about what's connecting to your environment, you really don't know or have the control that you should over what's connecting to your environment, who's using what devices. The Microsoft offerings have always been a little bit short on reporting. I think they've always just let reporting go to other organizations, and there's been some tools we've used ad hoc in the past couple of years to do some device reporting. They can call through the internet logs and see who's connecting and provide reports, but it's very bolt-on. It's not something you can do on demand. To really have the same type of insight that we provide you with our asset reports for your endpoints, how many computers do you need to replace next year, how many computers are connecting to your network, those reports that we provide to you in our technology health reviews, you really need a third-party tool to be able to do that and have the right insight to manage appropriately. So to recap, mobile device use is only going to grow. You need a mobile device management policy. Every organization that we work with has some aspect of unmanaged iPhone and Android solutions in their environment as we've migrated away from BlackBerry. And you need a policy. Security ramifications of not managing your mobile devices can be severe. And I definitely recommend, we're heading into 2014, budget some funds to manage mobile devices next year. And as far as BYOD, remember we're talking kind of about two different things. We're talking about a mobile device management solution, and we're talking about BYOD policy. If you want to continue to give phones to people, give tablets to people, that's really where you just need mobile device management. You don't have to change anything else. If you want to open it up and allow people to do bring your own device, so you don't have to pay for devices, for plans, just allow them to expense it. You need to come up with a BYOD plan and policy and management. So with that, I appreciate everybody joining. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and contact us. We'd be happy to talk to you more about managing your mobile device environment.